Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We're excited to have so many people joining us. We have people really from all across the country and from so many industries. So we're grateful for your time and your interest in today's topic, getting back to basics and winning fundraising strategies with Regina Alhassan. We are at the top of the hour, so let's get started. My name is Catherine Bergerson. I am the Vice President of Marketing and a member of the Insightful Philanthropy team, and we are proud to be sponsors of today's session. Kicking things off today, I want to let you know a couple of housekeeping things. The session is being recorded, and on our agenda, I'll quickly share just a little bit of background on Insightful and our parent company, Newsbank. Then we'll jump right into the program to get to those winning strategies. We'll be happy to take your questions and a bit of a clarification on how to ask questions. Depending on the version of GoToWebinar you're using, you may see gray bars or some icons. There's a chat icon there, or it says chat questions in the gray bar. Just open those up, type it in. We'll pause throughout the presentation and do our best to get to all of them. If we run short on time or can't get to yours, we do commit to getting back to you in the near future. Also in that same section there, you might see something called handouts. You can download those at any time to get more information on Insightful. So a little bit of background on Insightful. It is powered by our parent company, Newsbank, and Newsbank is a leading information provider aggregating sources from all around the world, bringing fundraising teams access to credible, vetted global sources, many of which are unique to Newsbank and to Insightful. All are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from any device. And we're proud to share with you that Newsbank is celebrating more than 50 years as a company. So Insightful, it's part of Newsbank's philanthropy division, and it's a software that draws upon those resources from Newsbank to help nonprofits fill in information gaps, get to know more about donors and prospects in order to really promote that better philanthropic engagement. Recently, we added, this is really exciting, more than 27,000 obituaries and death notices to our collection, and it's growing daily. We are every day adding and adding to that collection, which now makes Insightful the most comprehensive information resource available for obituaries and death notices. So our philosophy is really this simple. It's three things. If you know more, you can raise more to do more good in the world. So thank you again for being here today, and let's jump right in to the reason that we're all here, which is getting back to the basics, winning fundraising strategies with prospect development icon Regina Alhassan. She is here to share with us information that fundraisers frequently ask about data, research, and prospecting. She has insights for small shops, large shops, and those of you who are in between. We know there's a lot of you out there, a lot of fans out there. Actually, people are already typing in. We've got a shout out, Regina, from Rhonda, who says hi, so that's fun. Regina is the CEO of Research Pro, enjoys helping nonprofit leaders reach their highest goals. Her work as a prospect development legend continues to fuel multi-million-dollar charitable giving campaigns across the United States. With a career-long history of industry leadership and current faculty for APRA Fundamentals, Regina is also an award-winning artist, writer, philanthropist, and TEDx speaker. Please join me in welcoming Regina Alhassan. Hi, Regina.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much. I will never tire of hearing my bio read. Thanks.
Oh, well, it's a good one. We're grateful to spend the time with you. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And let's dive right in. And you should be able to see my screen now.
We sure can.
Perfect. So a quick rundown of what we're going to review today. We'll do a quick intro. We'll also cover why prospect development, who can prospect. We'll get into a few prerequisites, all around data. And then finally, we'll review the key elements of a prospecting toolkit. So Catherine did an amazing job with the bio. Just a little bit more about Research Pro. It's a prospect development consulting firm. I do work with fundraising executives, and I identify top prospects, help you figure out donor giving capacity, and ultimately meet your multi-million-dollar contributed revenue goals. We do that by providing qualified gift leads, specialized donor analysis, actionable insights, and ultimately, we enjoy optimizing your fundraising success. Research Pro is 7 years old. I started my firm 7 years ago as of last month, and my career total for dollars identified for organizations is in the billions. So they call me money because I have found billions of dollars for organizations. And here is a short list of some of the nonprofits I worked with over the last several years, both in Ohio as well as across the country. And there are some of the goals that I've worked with as well. You can see that. Okay, I always like to take a couple of moments for gratitude and celebration. And so tomorrow happens to be my birthday. So I'm incredibly grateful, and I'm celebrating my birthday eve, and I'll be been celebrating for a few weeks now, and the celebration will continue. So it's definitely Virgo season in my house. And so I'm celebrating that and also celebrating partnerships. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to build a partnership with Insightful, as well as the opportunity to share with you today. And if you're celebrating something, drop it in the chat. Others will see it. Sometimes I take time out to do a round of celebrations to see what others are celebrating. We don't have a lot of time today, but please feel free to drop anything you're celebrating in the chat. And I'm clapping with you in spirit.
Thank you. Happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a big one. I'm the same age as hip hop, so I'm excited about it.
Oh, fun, 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 fun.
All right. So does your nonprofit need $1 million? Does your nonprofit need 50,000, 100,000? If so, yes, of course it does. It's a nonprofit organization. And if your organization needs $1 million or 50,000 or $50, if your organization is involved in fundraising and in need of contributed revenue, you need prospect development. There's no way around that. Why do you need prospect development? So we're going to level set just a little bit here. For one, you need to identify existing supporters for new or increased donations. Who are the people that are already in your universe, already attached to you, already know you, maybe in your community, maybe in your neighborhood. Somehow they're in your universe, coming to your activities, engaging in your programs. Maybe they're students, their children are your students, their grandchildren are your students, are participating in your program, etc. There are lots of supporters in our universe already. And one reason that we need prospect development is to identify those people, to figure out what they can do as far as new or increased giving to our organization. So that's number one. The second reason you need prospect development is to make new friends. And whenever I present this slide, I always think of Girl Scouts in the song, like, make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver, but the other is gold. And that is absolutely true as it relates to our prospects and our donors and supporters. So we need to make new friends. We need new supporters. And ultimately, it always ties back to the bottom line. We need those new supporters that will become donations or connections that lead us to donations. So it could be that a new friend or a new advocate does not make an outright donation themselves, but they could lead us to a connection or some other relationship that ultimately turns into a donation for us. So 1, we're looking for existing people to give new and increased gifts. And 2, we're looking to make new friends so that we can, back to the bottom line, generate contributed revenue. The third reason why you need prospect development is that you have big fundraising goals. I typically work with organizations anywhere on the spectrum, anywhere from like a $3 million annual fund goal to a $200 million annual fund goal, special campaigns like $50 million on the low end, maybe $100 million on the high end, $200 million, et cetera, on the higher end. So you have big goals. And it's pretty typical for nonprofit organizations to have huge goals, and major gifts cost less. There's just really no way of getting around that. And every time I say that, people challenge me, say, I don't know if that's true. Do you believe me? I'm curious. Do you believe me? But here is a breakdown of the cost of fundraising. Like, you don't have to take my word for it. There's been lots of research around this. And we know that major gifts cost less. So here's a breakdown. Impact giving and major gifts. Some organizations call major gifts impact giving. And I will also say here that you may define a major gift as $5,000. Another organization may define a major gift as $50,000. Somewhere else, it may be $100,000, etc. The specific dollar amount that you're using to define major gifts at your institution is not that important in this scenario, in this example. What is important is the cost per dollar raised. And typically for impact and major gifts, no matter how you define that, you're spending 5 cents, 5 to 10 cents for every dollar raised. Corporate giving, foundations, and grants from any source typically cost 20 cents for every dollar raised. For planned giving, bequests, wills, etc., charitable gift annuities, etc., planned giving is about 25 cents per dollar raised, or it could be a little more. Events typically at minimum are 50 cents per dollar raised, typically more. So events tend to be, high on the front end, a high investment on the front end, and personally my least favorite form of giving, of fundraising. Events, although they are my least favorite form of fundraising, they are one of my favorite ways of prospecting. So there's a little bit of both ends of the spectrum, as it were. And so then also direct mail coming in absolute last is costing the most. It's $1 to $1.25 per dollar raised. And that's on the acquisition side. So on the front end of acquiring new donors through direct mail, you're going to spend between $1 and $1.25 for every dollar you raise. For direct mail renewals, so those are the people that gave the year before and now they're renewing their gift via direct mail, we're typically looking at 20 cents per dollar raised. So impact giving, major gifts simply cost less. And there is, the research proves that. And so to really build out a robust major gift program and a strong donor pipeline, you absolutely need prospect development. Okay, so I've convinced you, you need prospect development, but what exactly is prospect development? So prospect development is a huge sort of like umbrella term that I use and that we use across the industry that encompasses a number of different elements. So this is a screenshot from APRA's website, and APRA is the Professional Development Association for prospect development industry. And so this is, again, a screenshot from their website, and they offer a description and definitions around prospect development, as well as a number of other resources for the industry. And if you have a prospect development team, or even if you don't, especially if you don't, I would encourage you to get connected with APRA. They offer international membership as well as local chapters across the globe, actually, and just an incredible amount of resources, events, professional development, etc., for the profession and industry. So they do offer a description and definition of what prospect development is and ways that you can apply it. And so from here, we see that it includes prospect identification and research. It also includes relationship management. How are you moving your donors and prospects through the cultivation and solicitation cycle? And this umbrella also covers data analytics. So not just capturing data, gathering data in a database somewhere, but actually analyzing it so that we can activate it and put it to use. And here's just a closer look at those definitions, as well as APRA's web link and the direct link of where I got this information. And so today I'm kind of focusing on the prospect identification and research piece. And that really is involving, discovering and figuring out who are our best prospects, who are our top people, what is the relationship that we already have to them? Are they inclined to give? Are they interested in supporting us? Are they philanthropic at all? And if so, and in what ways? And what do they currently support? And if they are philanthropic, what is their capacity? Are they a $500 donor? Are they a $50 donor, a $50 million donor, $50,000 donor, etc.? So we've talked a little bit about why you need prospect development, what it is, and you have some resources that you can refer back to. Now I want to get into who can prospect. Oftentimes I meet organizations and frontline fundraisers that feel that they can't prospect, that they need to be a large healthcare organization or a large higher ed institution, and that just is not the case. Anyone can prospect. And I get really passionate about this in delivering the science of fundraising to fundraising professionals. Everyone can, and absolutely everyone should prospect. If you're fundraising, if you're a nonprofit, if you have big goals, if you have even small goals, even if you have a $5,000 goal, you can and should prospect and always build your pipeline of supporters. And it really is about the science. It is not the size. And here is one of my favorite scientists, Bill Nye. I may be dating myself just a little bit. Well, I've already shared my age. I'm the same age as hip hop. But I may be dating myself, but this is one of my favorite scientists, Bill Nye. And if you're familiar with Bill Nye, the science guy, which many of us are, you know that part of the mission of Bill Nye, the science guy, is to make science accessible and fun. And that is my mission as well, to make the science of fundraising accessible to all of us, and not just accessible, but actually fun and enjoyable. Imagine like data can be fun. So thinking about data, we're moving into like the prerequisites. What do you need in order to have a strong prospect development program or operation? So you definitely need data. There's no getting around that. And this seems a bit elementary. It seems a bit obvious, but I continue to meet and engage organizations that have huge data gaps. This is one of the first places I start when working with an organization. And across the board, people were missing our data. So if you are missing any of this information, don't feel bad. You are in good company. So what data do you need? There are a few key elements that are necessary in order to build the relationship, conduct the analysis, and figure out who your top prospects are. So first up, we need the name. And seems like a no-brainer, but this can be missing with organizations. So name is really important. It allows us to personalize the relationships. It gives us some identity for the individual. And I encourage you that you are tracking and keeping your data in a certain format. So first name and last name should be separate fields. Contact information is another important, it offers another set of important elements of data. So contact information allows us to communicate with our constituents. That's the first piece. We want to be able to communicate, to build the relationship, nurture the relationship, share impact stories, etc. But we also need contact information in order to evaluate their capacity. We need to know their address, street address, city, state, and zip. We need email and phone as well. So again, the email and phone really allows us to communicate and fosters communication. The address information is where we are able to, what we can use in order to evaluate the capacity. So we need all of this complete contact information to really grow the relationship and understand the capacity of our individual constituents. Identity is also important, and you can define identity in ways that are important to you. You may be interested in racial or ethnicity information and capture that as a way to feed identity. You may also be interested in like where they went to college and capturing their alma maters as a way to determine and build some identity for your constituents. You could be also looking at, another example would be that someone is a member of a local community organization, or perhaps I'm going to use myself as an example. There are Black fundraiser collectives that I'm engaged in, women of color fundraising collectives that I'm engaged in. There's the Sister Nonprofit Network that I'm a member of. And so you could capture, if it's important to you and if it's relevant to your organization and your mission, you may want to capture those types of identity markers for your constituents. So you certainly can think about different identity markers that are important to you and relevant to building relationships with your constituents. So another piece of information that is really important to capture is date of birth. Date of birth first. That's my preferred reference point, my preferred piece of information. And then if you're missing data, or if you're missing your date of birth, age is another effective way to get to date of birth. And the reason why I focus on date of birth or age is because, one, we're able to target communications. And also we're able to target our gift strategy, most especially if you are looking at constituents, our donors, volunteers, stakeholders, etc., that are of retirement age. Then we are looking at play and giving prospects. So date of birth is important so we can segment our audience, target communications based on like communication preferences or online platforms that they use based on age group, etc. And then also we're able to use that as an identity marker to identify some of our best prospects for planned gifts. And so here's just a resource that's available to you from theresearchpro.com. You can go to my website. This particular guide is available. Capture the data. There's some more information that you may find helpful about what data you should capture and how to apply it. So I encourage you to go to my website, theresearchpro.com, download this free guide. So what other data do you need? So interest is really important as well. So what are they interested in? Why do they give to your organization? What do they care about? Do they care about animals? Do they care about the environment? Do they care about young people? Do they care about literacy? So what are their interests? And this will help you to understand their why. First, why are they supporting you? Why are they involved in you? Why are they involved in your organization and with you in your programs? And understanding their why helps us to align them with other opportunities to support that match their interests. And so with their interests, we're also able to segment our data to create very targeted invitation lists to our events as well as programs. We also want to know their employer. This is helpful to know whether or not their employer offers a matching gift program. And that offers our donors an opportunity to increase their impact and their support for your organization. So it's important to have an opportunity to capture this information. And then on the flip side of that, or on the further along in that process, you also need to have dedicated time or staff or resources to making sure that you are reaching out to those employers if they have a matching gift program, and then also doing the research to determine whether or not they have a matching gift program. It's also important to capture the title, like job titles, for your individual constituents. That gives us clues into their leadership potential. Are they, like, for example, are they the CEO of the local insurance company? Are they the VP of corporate giving for, a local corporation in your community? Are they the HR director that may be looking for volunteer opportunities for their employees? And so, again, title gives us clues into their leadership potential and ways that we could deepen the relationship with the individual or a company or their family, etc. And then another obvious one, transactions and engagement. We obviously want to capture all the transactions. Are they making gifts? Are they making purchases? Are they just like outright buying something from you? Are they enrolling in programs? Are they attending events? All of these different touch points that you have, we want to make sure that we're capturing that data that allows us to conduct analysis around their affinity to your organization. You could create engagement scores around this data. We also are able to get into strategy, knowing what they already are engaged in, how they're already spending money with us. And so again, just being able to use that data and that information to run reports that create analysis as well as strategy and prospect-driven strategy. That's what the PD there is for. So getting into prospect-driven strategy, with all of that data, we're really able to figure out like who's in your pool, who's in your giving pool, what's their capacity. And so I always focus on capacity. And so this is where I solidly put on my fundraiser hat here. So yes, there are times when as an organization, we're interested in friend raising. And then there are times when we are more interested in fundraising. And for the purpose of this presentation, we are interested in fundraising and really tying it back to the bottom line of contributed revenue in dollars in the door. So what's their capacity? Again, we've talked about this a little bit, but are they a $5 donor, $500, $50,000, $50 million? And again, as a fundraiser, I enjoy and I welcome all support. All levels of support are important. But if we're talking about major gift campaigns, if you need $1 million, etc., then we are focused on finding the capacity so that we can focus on those larger, more transformational gifts. So do the people in your pool, do the people in your universe, do they know and like you? Do they know that you exist? Do they like the work that you're doing? By capturing some of this data, we're able to answer these questions. Are they grateful for you? Are you doing something that benefits their lives tremendously? And if so, in what ways? What's their love language? How do they like to show that they love you? Is it through a gift? Is it through asking their friends for money to support you? Is it through coming to your events? Is it by resharing some of your content online? So what's their love language? And how do you deepen the relationship? So having your data in place allows us to really lean into prospect-driven strategy. So again, kind of going back to that data. So data equals cultivation and stewardship. Again, with this data, we're able to build the relationship, cultivate towards larger gifts, and steward. So we're in that thank you phase. So it's important for us to think about, and all of these, here are some questions here for us to think about, and all of this really should be feeding our database. So it's important for us to ask our donors why they support you. Oftentimes we're just hustling to get the next appeal out, get the event together, etc. And we are more comfortable and more routinely ask our supporters, we give them reasons to support us. We tell them why they should support us, why they should give us money. But we don't always go back and ask, why do they support us? What was it? What was the intriguing piece? What was the appeal? Was it the initiative? Which program do they really like, etc.? And so then it's also important, along with that, why they support you, it's also important to know and to discover what's their impact vision. So I'm donating to you, I'm giving you money. What's my vision for your organization? It's important to ask our constituents and our supporters what they have, what they see in the future for us, and what their vision for their legacy of philanthropy to you may be. Also, it's important to ask for whatever missing information there is. If you don't have date of birth, if you don't have age, if you don't have their physical address, ask for that information. This creates an incredible opportunity for a stewardship touch point and to also get the data that you need. So ask them for that missing information. Another example would be, or another point here, is to put their replies in the database, in your CRM. As you're asking for missing information, as you're asking for their impact vision and why they support you, make sure you are going back into your database and putting that information in the notes, in contact reports, somewhere. And then build your strategies accordingly. If someone says to you like, hey, I really love, if you're an animal rights or animal justice organization, and they say to you, I really love, I'm a canine person. I love dogs. And I have a vision that every dog, in Ohio is home, has a home somewhere. And so then if you have that information about me, then it would behoove you to build a strategy that speaks directly to my interests, directly to my vision, and directly to my existing demonstrated philanthropy. So that's just one example of how you can use this data to build a strategy. And then finding the love language and communicating. So we've talked about that a little bit as well. Do they prefer email? Do they prefer US mail? Do some of your constituents prefer text campaigns? So finding that love language and asking them, how would you like us to communicate with you? How would you like to receive the good information about the good news that we're doing? Ask them in what ways they like to be communicate, and then adhere to that. So I've been talking a lot, so this is where we kind of pause and ask for questions. So all of this makes sense to you. You know you need prospect development. You know it's important. You know you need data. So yeah, but here's where I kind of pause and address some of the real questions, the real challenges that you're facing in your organization that is stopping you from leaning into your data capture and being more data driven. So I'll pause and see if there are any questions at this point.
Thank you, Regina. Yes, and thank you to all of our attendees. Just a quick reminder, to ask a question, you'll likely see gray bars on the side that say question or chat. You just drop it in there, or you may see icons. Open that up, type your question in, and we will do our best. We do have a few already here, Regina. I am on board with your strategies, but I struggle to get my organization to invest in the tools. What do you recommend?
Yeah, so there really is, some of this is the culture of the organization, but there really is no way around the investment. So we went through sort of the cost of fundraising. There's always an investment. Regardless of whether or not we realize it, there is always an investment. And then the other thing I like to share in response to those types of questions is like the number of prospects that we need per gift, especially for large major gift campaigns. And so we know that we need anywhere between 3 to 10 prospects per major gift. And so let's just look at that. If you have a $10 million campaign, for example, a $10 million capital campaign, we know that you need anywhere between 30 and $100 million in prospects and prospective gifts in order to meet that $10 million campaign. So at some point, you have to invest in identifying those prospects, cultivating those relationships to secure those gifts, knowing that the average donor cycle, most especially for brand new prospects, is anywhere from 12 to 18 months. So I like to share that information and sort of rephrase it and reframe it as more of, can you afford not to invest in finding the people that can support your organization for the next 12 to 18 months? And those people, knowing that those people will likely support your organization if you cultivate and stewardship correctly for at least 5 years. So I like to frame it in that way and encourage people to think about, can you really afford not to invest in prospect development? And I'll get off my soapbox and and happy to answer any other questions.
Sure. And it's a common situation we hear frequently. We do have another question from Cheryl. What are some of your favorite research software tools?
Oh, we're going to get into that. I think that may be the next slide.
Oh,
so we
good.
can definitely get into that. One question. So I will talk about databases and CRMs because I typically get asked, like, what are your favorite databases? And so I always turn it back to the audience, like, what are you using? What are your colleagues using? But we know, like, Salesforce, Blackbaud has a great product suite. I'm working with organizations right now. One is using DonorView. Another organization that I've worked with on the smaller end has used FlipCause. GiveButter is another one that is very attractive for smaller organizations that have very limited budgets. And then there's Bloomerang, which is now Kindful is now part of the Bloomerang family. So those are some CRMs that I know organizations are using across the board, from like small to large. small budgets to very like highly resourced organizations. But as far as some of the other tools, we'll get into that in the coming slides. So before I do that, are there any other questions?
I don't see any right now, but again, we'll continue to pause. So as you think of things, just type them in, and we'll do our best to get to all of them. Thanks, Regina.
Fantastic. All right, so prospecting toolkit. You absolutely need a prospecting toolkit as you build your prospect development operation. And so here's some of my favorite, I'll review some of my favorite resources here. So your database is number one. We've talked about that. In 1A, so 1 and 1A, so closely tied together. Your database and your fundraisers, your frontline gift officers, your relationship managers, could be your board, a staff person, or volunteers. Your frontline people are incredible resources that belong in your toolkit. And so your frontline people will gather insights that you may never find in doing online research. And that is perfectly okay. That is the purpose and the nature of personal relationships, that you uncover nuanced information, you uncover details that you wouldn't find in publicly available databases and data sets. So your database and your fundraisers are incredibly important. I can't emphasize that enough. And then as far as tools that are external to your organization, you certainly need tools and software to conduct. I like to break this up in a couple of different categories. The first is wealth analysis. So we need to conduct that wealth analysis so that we can figure out what is the giving capacity. And there are tools out there that many of us are probably already familiar with. There's iWave, there's Kindsight, which used to be called iWave, and I'm a Kindsight partner. So if you want to talk about that offline, we certainly can. Kindsight is very comparable to Donor Search. So those are some of the wealth analysis tools that we're very used to, where you can upload a large list of your individual donor names and do a batch screening and figure out what the capacity is for those individuals. That is a great place to start for identifying new and existing supporters. So there are tools available to do wealth analysis. And again, that is figuring out what their capacity is. We look at their, and you need name and address for this. So you're looking at their past philanthropic behavior, you're looking at publicly available assets to figure out what their net worth is. And then from there, based on net worth, these platforms have algorithms to figure out how much of that net worth they're able to give away, which is the capacity. So that's the wealth analysis tools. And then there are other tools that you need to conduct deep dive research. And Insightful is one of those tools, which is why I'm excited about the partnership. Again, I get passionate about bridging the knowledge gap and really helping individuals understand the science of fundraising. And that definitely involves tools and software. So I'm always interested in bridging that gap between the tools that you need to do this work and the people that are actually doing the work and actually doing the fundraising and relationship management. So Insightful is an incredible tool, and Newsbank at large is a tool that I have used throughout my entire research career. So the way that I use tools like Insightful to do deep dive research, there are a few different ways. First, always I can use it for due diligence. So if an organization is looking to bring on a new board member, new key volunteers, or even looking to finalize gift agreements with very large corporate funders or some corporations that may be a bit provocative or challenging. For example, maybe it is a youth serving organization and they're wondering if their company has any ties to big tobacco or something like that. So due diligence is always important, whether or not we're looking at corporate prospects or individuals. Is there anything that we need to be aware of? Are there any negative news, etc.? So Insightful can be really helpful for that, along with due diligence and looking for things that we need to be careful about. We also can use it just for general individual research to build out a full profile and a full awareness of who the individual is that we are talking to or looking at or preparing to meet with, etc. So the individual research is really important, and we're looking at name, bio, any companies, any attachments to companies, organizations, etc. You can also use Insightful for news alerts, and this is really, really helpful, especially as we are cultivating and offering stewardship to our constituents. So if one of your constituents or someone that you are cultivating for a major gift ask recently, if they are, I don't know why I can't talk, why I can't say the words. If they get a promotion is what I'm trying to say. If they get a promotion and they have a new leadership role or, something along those lines, then you can get you may be able to get a news alert about that, and then be one of the first people to reach out to them and send your congratulations, etc. You can determine as an individual organization what type of news about your constituents is important to you. But whatever type of news that you're interested in, you can get the news alerts about that. And then again, that fosters cultivation as well as stewardship. So just really providing an opportunity for additional touch points. We know that the typical cultivation cycle is 12 to 18 months, and you need monthly touch points along the way. Another great way to another great value that Insightful offers is obituaries. And so obituaries are really important. A lot of times, we don't like to talk about it, etc. But they can be very important, and they still remain one of my primary resources to sort of tease out very complicated family relationships. Especially those family relationships are those families that are 2 to 3, maybe 4 generations that are actively involved in philanthropy across a community. Sometimes those families are very large, and they are also tied to major companies in your community. We have a few of those in Columbus, Ohio, where I am. There is a family that owns several retail companies throughout the city. They own media companies, they own construction companies, and then there's the family itself. The individual family members, which now I think is 3 generations, they all have their own individual family. The companies have their philanthropy as well. And then sometimes there's a mishmash of individual and corporate giving all tied together. And so it's a very large, very complicated family. And obituaries is a great resource to kind of figure out some of those families. I'm always surprised by what you can uncover in an obituary. I have also used obituaries to tease out what families are supporting. And so there may be a line in an obituary, sort of in lieu of flowers, the family asks that you support XYZ fund at such and such institution because this is what the family supports, and so kind of uncovering and finding those clues. Again, we're getting into the deep dive research here, but it's very, very helpful towards building the relationship, fostering the relationship, and getting clues, finding clues to what type of philanthropy they may be engaged in, what they support, and at what levels. So Insightful is an amazing tool to help you with that. So there's no getting around needing some sort of prospecting toolkit. And you can also use Research Pro as a resource to build your toolkit as well. We've talked about the capture the data side, capture the data guide rather. There are some other resources available on my website. I encourage you to go check out those guides. Most of them, I believe, have a cost associated with them, but then there are coupon codes right on the website, so you can get those items for free. And you can start to build your prospecting toolkit on the Research Pro dashboard. And every time you go there, your guides and your resources, your worksheets are there. So I encourage you to take advantage of that. Some more resources for you available on my website, videos, and some conversations with frontline fundraisers, etc. Oh, and so I'm also really excited about this. I am hosting my first ever in-person professional development event on Friday, November 1st. It's live in person in Columbus, Ohio. It's a half-day symposium, Data, Donors, Dollars, the symposium. So in this half-day event, we'll do a workshop. I'll lead a workshop. We have lunch, and then also a panel session featuring 4 panelists. I'm really excited about this. 2 frontline fundraisers, 1 data professional, and then also a corporate funder is participating. And so I'm really excited about that. There's the web link, theresearchpro.com/symposium. You can get all the details. If you're in Ohio, if you're up for a weekend trip, I encourage you to come and register for that and meet me in Columbus, Ohio. So here we are, questions, thoughts. We've gone through the rundown. Why prospect development? Who can prospect? Everyone can and should. We talked about some of the prerequisites you need, as well as going through some of the key elements of a prospecting toolkit. And I know we'll have Catherine will come back on for questions, but before we do that, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and I invite you to connect, share, learn. Find me on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Thank you so much, Regina. Wow, thank you. That is wonderful. And thank you again to all of you who are joining us. Yes, we do have another question, and this is a big one. What are some of the most common challenges you hear, and how do you overcome them?
Yeah, so it's like in what category? So there are lots of challenges. Top typical challenges I hear are around budget and money. So we've kind of talked about that a little bit. Like, you really can't afford not to do this. And so, yes, some level of investment is necessary. And so investing in tools and software, et cetera, is one way to approach that when you are more of a shoestring budget, and if you don't have a dedicated team member or a full team to do this work for you. Another challenge that I face a lot, or that organizations face a lot, is around the missing data. And so we talked about that a little bit too. The other thing that organizations also kind of push back on is time. It's kind of like, I don't have time to do this work. And I would just push back again and say, if you don't have time to find donors to support your organization, then what's your sustainability plan? And so that's, we have to find the resources to engage the donors, to identify the donors, et cetera. So those are the biggest challenges that I hear organizations present.
Thank you for that. And one about the onboarding new or young, maybe first-time prospect researchers. What advice do you have for onboarding the younger prospect researchers?
Yeah, absolutely. Bring Research Pro to the table. But aside from that, again, APRA is an amazing resource, most especially for new and emerging prospect development professionals. There are local chapters all across the country, across the planet. They have the chapters offer professional development and mentoring programs. The International Association also has professional development. I'm currently a member for APRA Fundamentals, which is their fundamentals course that is teaching you new and emerging prospect development professionals how to do this work. So APRA is an amazing resource, and I encourage you to plug into that.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for those questions. And of course, if you think of something, after we say goodbye today, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're happy to continue the conversation. But Regina, thank you so much for this wonderful information. It's always good to kind of reground yourself if you've been in the industry for a while, but also we encourage from those new and young prospect developers to continue to use your research and your tools on your website to develop and hone their own skills. So thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And again, Regina, thank you so much. Thank you to all your guests for spending part of your day with us. We hope that this session was valuable to you and that you have some real actionable ways to build out your prospect profiles. If you have a question in the future, we encourage you to reach out to us. Our contact information is here. Regina's is in the PowerPoint deck. As you exit today, there'll be a brief, I think it's just 2-question survey. Take a moment, let us know what you thought, how we can improve in the future. So on behalf of the Insightful and Research Pro teams, we thank you for spending part of your day with us. Bye.